Hello everybody, Big Planes here, and for the longest time now, I have been wanting to do a full interior tour of the 737 in greater detail, and I kind of want to talk over why I did certain things, and why some things are why they are, and some certain techniques that I used, and I want to talk more about them. So this video is going to be mostly dedicated to that, so maybe a little bit more uncut than my 737 Vote Now video, but I'm going to go over as many of the reasons why I did certain techniques and what I liked to include in this model, so let's get right into it. With just a little bit of backstory here, this is my LEGO Ideas 737-500 that I built for LEGO Ideas, and I did do a video on it about a month or two ago explaining some of the interior aspects of it, and I have been making some other videos since then on like the flaps and landing gear and some other stuff on it, but I really haven't done a detailed tour of the inside of the plane yet. So that's what this video is going to be dedicated to, and we're going to start right out here with the door. Now, I know I'm getting a lot of questions why I have a sausage operating the door, and there is some pretty simple reasoning to that. The door itself operates in a fairly simple manner. You just pull it out like this, just like most other LEGO airplane doors, and it pulls straight out. It then can turn this way out, and that's how the door opens itself. Now, the reason the sausage is in there is because the door is at a slight angle. Since this nose down here comes to more of a curve like this, the door needed to be angled slightly inward in case it needed to cover that gap at the very top. So if it was just angled straight, you can see how there would be a large gap at the top of the plane like this. So what that sausage does is it angles the door so it can fold slightly inward like this once it's fully shut. And by doing that, it allows it to fold straight and cleanly into the fuselage of the plane. There are two of these doors towards the front of the aircraft, and then towards the very rear of the aircraft you're going to find a couple more. These doors operate in a very similar manner by just putting a finger here and opening it up like so. Then they just slide right out and towards the front, just like most real airline doors. The only difference between these doors and the ones in the front are they just use a standard bar because there's more room and they don't need to fold into the body of the aircraft. Here's a little bit closer of an angle of exactly the mechanism that opens these doors, and I think it works out pretty well, and I'm actually pretty happy with it. The way that the roof comes off is fairly simple. It comes off in two parts. The tail comes off as one part like this to reveal the very back of the aircraft, and then the main fuselage also comes off in one part. The portability and accessibility of this plane was very important to me, so this whole thing just comes off as one individual piece. After you open everything up, you get to see the fully populated interior of this plane. Now, before you storm the comments section saying that there should be another lavatory for it towards the front of the aircraft, the reason that there is not one on this plane is because there's just simply no room. Does it look like there's room for a lavatory on here? No, there's no room, so that's why I did not put one there. But I'm going to just start up here with the smaller details I have here. So you can see that right by the door there is I'm trying to squeeze the camera in here. There is a small container that has some stuff, maybe some food, maybe some prep gear, I don't know, maybe for their demonstrations, safety demonstrations at the beginning of the flight. All sorts of stuff could be loaded in there. On this side, there's just a privacy wall or a privacy partition, and that leads directly into the business class area or the first class area. I tried to spruce this up a little bit more, and you can see some of the higher end passengers that are sitting up here towards the front. These seats are much wider, and they are in a 1-1 configuration, unlike the rest of the plane, which is in a 2-2. Now, this would represent a 2-2 configuration on the real plane, but since this is LEGO scale, things become a little bit more difficult. You get to see that I also used one of those minifigure capes for the privacy partition between the two classes, and I think this actually turned out pretty well. I have used this technique on the Constellation, on the 747, and I decided to bring it in on here. I will also probably be using this technique on the 787, but I just thought it would look really cool here. Now I'm going to move forward a little bit towards the cockpit area. This area actually does have some detail too. You can see the cockpit door right there does close. I'm going to try to close it here. Again, really shaky camera, but you can see that this does close like so, like that. It is not locked, so hopefully the plane doesn't get hijacked. And of course, towards the very front of the plane, you get to see the cockpit and the control area. I'm going to try to squeeze the camera in here. Again, sorry about the shaky camera, but I also had to work with the window design, so those sort of stick out a bit, but you can indeed fit a minifigure up here, and you can kind of see some of the consoles and the two yokes there, since this is a Boeing aircraft. I know some of these Airbus aircraft use the side stick, though this one does use yokes. So yeah, that's the business and nose area, or the cockpit area, which is in the nose. This whole thing can be detached for transport, But yeah, that's just generally what we have going on here. Directly behind this area is where the economy class is, or as some refer to it as the cattle class. Now, this one is a bit more cramped than the first class area or the business class, using a 2-2 configuration. This on the real aircraft will represent a 3-3 configuration. You get to see there is an emergency exit located about midway through the galley, or through the fuselage, and these doors do pop out. I know on the real one they would hinge, but since this is Lego and some compromises had to be made, that's how they work. So as we move further back in the fuselage, you get to see some more fun stuff towards the tail. We have 2 lavatories here. Each one features a toilet, that is the thing attached to the far wall, and a sink, which is the thing attached close to the door. I know it's a bit minimal, but I didn't have much room to work with, so this is generally all I could do. The doors themselves, sorry about my giant hand, do open, so you can get access. Again, not that much space, but somebody looks like, I'm going to try to fit this person in there, will fit there, so yeah, it works. Not very well, but it does. And after the lavatories in the back, you get to see some of the galley. Again, this is very minimalist, but there are some other small details in here. There are a couple of cabinets towards the very bottom there. And then directly above that, you get to see some more containers and things where they could be stored, or maybe you could heat up some pre-cooked food. I'm not sure. Whatever you want, let your imagination run wild. Directly right there, that is where the other door is. Again, you can kind of see the mechanism a little closer up. It's just using 2 of those battle droid arms. It's very simple. It's been used a lot on other planes before, not just by me, but on other people. So yeah, that is generally what's going on the inside of this plane. Again, do keep in mind that I had to optimize this for LEGO Ideas, so I couldn't make it overly detailed, or else I would have gone over the 3,000 parts limit. But I thought I did a pretty decent job on the interior for what I had. I may eventually go through and redo these seats with the newer design, but of course that would just jack up the parts count, which would also jack up the price. So tell me what you think on the comment section below. Tell me what you think on the interior of this plane, if you like it, if you'd like to see more like it, and what other parts of this plane would you like to see in a future video. So that's all I really have for this video, and goodbye for now.